So, as leaders serving in education, what do you see as some of the greatest challenges and opportunities facing education in this country today? Let's talk now 30,000 foot perspective. Okay. What are the big challenges and the big opportunities in education today?
Go ahead. Okay, well, I think the biggest challenge started in the 60s whenever prayer and Bible reading was taken out of public schools. So now I know we're not talking about today, but I think that greatly influenced what we're facing today. And the reaction of the Christian community was, whoa, we don't like this. That's fine. We're going to take our kids. So they started Christian schools. Well, then from Christian schools, then the homeschooling movement got started. And so what we've done is we've removed the break. We've removed the Christian influence from public schools for the most part, which makes the public school and education in general so challenging. Basically, where we need to go from there is, I think we have an opportunity right now as Christians in this culture that we have, where we've removed the Christian influence from the public sector, and say, okay, how can we fix that? My thought is, and I don't know who would agree with this, but I think what would happen, this is my dreaming visionary part, what would happen if we took, and I know we can't do this, but took all those kids who are in Christian schools and homeschool and flooded the public schools with them. And they all went back in, all the parents, every family ran for school board. Every family or every church would have at least a couple public school teachers infiltrating into the public schools. What would happen? Our nation would turn around like that, in my opinion. I think that's what would change the whole education of our nation. Now, I don't think that's probably possible. People feel very strongly about Christian schools and homeschooling, and I understand that completely as a parent. I get that. But I think for now, what can we do? I think if there was a way that we could encourage, that we could challenge churches to adopt their local public school and say, okay, every church is going to have at least one teacher, one public school teacher, and at least one school board member. That would be a start. That would be so amazing and so great to start turning things around. Because really, truly, it can't be from the top down. We can't expect, the federal government to have these rules. The 1776 project was a great idea, but unless you have people on the local level that want that and that are pushing for it, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So I really think what needs to happen, the challenge is so much of our Christian influence is outside of the public school. Well, I hate to break it to you, but majority of Americans attend public schools. So we're going to be, off on these little Christian, sectors, and we'll be having a great time and doing what we want to do. But the rest of our nation is going to, fall apart. So what can we do to jump back in there? And I think that's the solution. That's the opportunity I see. I would love to see every church adopt their public school, get in there and volunteer, have your board members, have your public school teachers. That would be what I say would be the greatest opportunity for us to make a difference in the education of our nation. So.
That's interesting. You talked about the majority of students being in public school, depending on whose statistics you see. It's somewhere between 8 and 9 out of 10 students are in government schools. Mm-hmm. That's a major portion. I mean, it's pretty high. Now, there's all kind of reasons for that. And I think what I'm hearing you say, if I could just kind of sum it down, if we want to see change in our schools, we have to be engaged. Right. We don't influence when we walk away. There are things we may want to walk away from, but we need to engage in order to make changes that are not only in our best interest as individuals, but are in the best interests of our families, our communities, and our country as a whole.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
here's the thing: our conversation today is, very much around, values based and, faith and morality, which is very, very important. And that's really centered in the family. And when families feel threatened that their faith or morality uh, is being prejudiced against, or
Mhm.
being attempts to destroy that from their kids or whatever, that's why people walk away. And it's not just, there's been a lot of talk about Christian, but that's true for other groups as well,
Sure.
other faith
Absolutely.
groups. The
Mhm.
tendency is, look, these values are very important to me, and I want those to be carried on. I want my kids to have this. I want that to carry on. And if I feel like my kids are in a place where that's being eroded away,
Mhm.
then I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to make a change.
Mhm.
I'm going to pull something out. The other side of that, though, is, if we, as you stated quite well, if people with these values completely walk away, then those values, there will be a vacuum there,
Yeah.
and something else
Mhm.
will fill it. And
Mhm.
so, Noah Webster Educational Foundation, our whole focus, well, we have five big stones, so to speak. So
Mhm.
really, we focus on core principles and best practices in education, and those really center in the following five things: the role of instruction, the
Mhm.
role of parents, the role of government, the role of faith and morality, and the role of facilities. All of those are important and integral parts of our educational systems.
Right.
And in reality, all of those things touch every sector or silo of education, whether it's public or charter or private or
Mhm.
Christian
Mhm.
or homeschool or whatever. Those are all things that really tie into the fabric of that whole infrastructure that we call education. Uh, Being engaged is the most important thing that we can do, and that is particularly true for any community leaders and every parent, to be
Mhm.
engaged. So,
I
yeah.
think too, I think all of us as parents have those moments when we want to run. There have been so many moments in the last 13 years of Josiah's education in Northern Lebanon that I just wanted to say, that's it. I'm done. I'm homeschooling. I'm done with this.
Mhm.
Plenty of opportunities, but we forget how much power parents have in public education. We run it really, truly, because these are our kids. We're paying the taxes. You know, we are so, so, so important. And I think so many parents that I talk to, even as a board member, they'll call me and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm just really upset about this." I'm like, talk to the principal, talk to the teacher. You know, are you telling them how you feel about this?
Yeah.
And parents, I feel like, are so, it's just easier just to take my kids, protect them, and run. You know,
Mhm.
and I get that. I totally understand that. But we have so much more power as parents than we even realize in the public school system. And even if you send your kids to Christian school or homeschool them, you still have power in your local public school. You still
Mhm.
can be speaking out and making, a difference. I know parents that have come to board meetings and turn those board meetings around, those decisions around, by their influence, by being there, and especially if they're kind and gentle but very firm about what they believe. I've
Mhm.
seen things change around very quickly. So I just wish we could empower parents by saying, speak up, let your voice be heard.
Mhm.
Your local school district is run by you, really, truly. You
Mhm.
are the one you're paying the taxes.
You're the stakeholder.
You're the stakeholder. Don't feel like I can't do anything about this. You absolutely can.
Absolutely.